Hello there, VT English 4 students. Today we're going to be practicing looking at a passage and figuring out, well, why is it important? What can I get out of it? So this is a passage from Dalton Trumbo's novel Johnny Got His Gun. First I'm going to read through it, and then I'm going to go back and we'll look at what's important and the theme, and we'll go from there. The campfire was built in front of a tent, and the tent was under an enormous pine. When you slept inside the tent, it seemed always that it was raining outside because the needles from the pine kept falling. Sitting across from him and staring into the fire was his father. Each summer they came to this place, which was 9,000 feet high and covered with pine trees and dotted with lakes. They fished in the lakes, and when they slept at night, the roar of water from the streams which connected the lakes sounded in their ears all night long. They had been coming to this place ever since he was 7. Now he was 15, and Bill Harper was going to come tomorrow. He sat in front of the fire and looked across at his father and wondered just how he was going to tell him. It was a very serious thing. Tomorrow, for the first time in all their trips together, he wanted to go fishing with someone other than his father. On previous trips, the idea had never occurred to him. His father had always preferred his company to that of men, and he had always preferred his father's company to that of other guys. But now Bill Harper was coming up tomorrow, and he wanted to go fishing with him. He knew it was something that had to happen sometime. Yet he also knew that it was the end of something. It was an ending and a beginning, and he wondered just how he should tell his father about it. So he told him very casually. He said, "Bill Harper's coming up tomorrow, and I thought maybe I'd go out with him." He said, "Bill Harper doesn't know very much about fishing, and I do, so I think, if you don't mind, I'll get up early in the morning and meet Harper, and he and I will go fishing." For a little while his father didn't say a thing. Then he said, "Why, sure, go along, Joe." And then a little later his father said, "Has Bill Harper got a rod?" He told his father, "No, Bill hasn't a rod." "Well," said his father, "why don't you take my rod and let Bill take yours?" "I don't want to go fishing tomorrow anyhow. I'm tired and I think I'll rest all day. So you use my rod and let Bill use yours." It was as simple as that, and yet he knew it was a great thing. His father's rod was a very valuable one. It was perhaps the only extravagance his father had had in his whole life. It had amber leaders and beautiful silk windings. Each spring his father sent the rod away to a man in Colorado Springs who was an expert on rods. The man in Colorado Springs carefully scraped the varnish off the rod and rewound it and revarnished it, and it came back glistening each new year. There was nothing his father treasured more. He felt a little lump in his throat as he thought that even as he was deserting his father for Bill Harper, his father had volunteered the rod. They went to sleep that night in the bed which lay against a floor of pine needles. They had scooped the needles out to make a little hollow place for their hips. He lay wide awake quite a while, thinking about tomorrow, and his father, who slept beside him. Then he fell asleep. At 6 o'clock, Bill Harper whispered to him through the tent flap. He got up and gave Bill his rod and took his father's for himself, and they went off without awakening his father. Okay, so we really need to look at the relationship between the father and the son. Okay, so they've made these yearly trips every summer to the mountains, and they fished and had a great time. So I have a lot of things highlighted here, and I just wanted to kind of look at how do these words and phrases show their relationship and what's going on. They had been coming to this place ever since he was 7, so it's when he was young. Now he is 15, so it was at 8 years, and Bill Harper was going to come tomorrow. So this kid is trying to figure out how he's going to tell his dad that some outsider to this tradition is going to come up tomorrow. It was a very serious thing. For the first time in all their trips together, he wanted to go fishing with someone other than his father. For all these other trips, it had never occurred to him to bring a friend, and his father never brought any of his friends. I like this part right here where it said, yeah, he knew that it was something that had to happen sometime. You have to grow up sometime. Yet he also knew that it was the end of something, and it was the beginning of something. He just didn't know how he's going to tell his father. So next we see him saying, well, I just did it very casually, just matter-of-factly. So he said, Bill Harper's coming up tomorrow, and I thought maybe I'd go out with him. And he tried to, make a good argument by saying, well, Bill Harper doesn't know anything about fishing, and I know a lot about fishing because of all of our trips, and so, maybe that would convince his dad that it wouldn't be a bad idea. And then there's a little quiet time where his dad is thinking. Maybe he's dealing with his own emotions, He's seeing that his son is growing up. Things are changing. But then his father says, well, sure, go ahead and go, Joe. And then he wonders, I wonder if Bill Harper has his own fishing rod. So he offers his own fishing rod, and we read later how valuable, how cherished this fishing rod is. So this was a great thing. This was a monumental thing that his dad trusted him enough that he could use his fishing rod. There was nothing his father treasured more. He felt this little lump in his throat. He felt like he was deserting his father, but his father let him use his own very good fishing rod. He trusted him. So what can we get out of this? Well, from the point of view of the son, we see is a young man coming of age, struggling with his internal desire for repeated tradition, fishing time with Dad, where no one else has broken in. Neither have ever brought outsiders to the almost sacred time together. We also see Joe wanting to share the experience with his friend Bill Harper and exclude his dad. Part of growing up, a new beginning, end of an era with Dad. We do not see Dad's internal conversation. Is he saddened at the loss of an old familiar tradition? Is he resentful of Joe's desire to fish with Bill rather than him? Is he proud of Joe desiring to teach his friend how to fish? Is he happy his son is growing up to be a good man? So, why is this important? Well, whether or not we have this type of close relationship with our Father, we can see and feel how it would be nice to have. We can empathize with the son, Joe, as he feels torn between spending time with Dad and wants to spend time with a friend, maybe even beginning a new tradition. Staying the same or moving forward, we all must choose. That is why this passage is important.